Hey guys, what's up? It's iFlynn here, and today we're going to be talking about the shield-based frame known as Hildren. Now, this frame isn't amazing. She's not going to be replacing the likes of your Octavia or Loki or whatever in the likes of a endurance, survival, or defense mission, but she's also good and fun enough to not be placed, beside those bottom tier Warframes, right? She can definitely hold her own, she can definitely sustain herself, and she's overall just kind of fun to play, right? I enjoyed leveling Hildren. I wasn't complaining about anything at any point in time. There's a few things about her kit which I thought could have been tweaked a little bit, but other than that, in general, she's a fun frame to play. Now, the big kick in the nuts whenever it does come to this frame, though, is that free-to-play players at the time of making this video currently cannot farm Hildren's parts. You can get her blueprint from Little Duck, but you can't farm her parts because her parts, we believe, is locked behind killing the Exploiter Orb in the Orb Valis, which is also locked behind a community event which requires players to go out of their way to scan these little tiny data hashes that are found around the Orb Valis, right? So there's 16 of these data hashes, and we think that we're going to get the Hildren part blueprints from the orb, but you just can't do it yet. So the only way to get Hildren right now is to cough up the platinum, right? Which kind of sucks for anyone who just, was excited for the Warframe update, and then it comes around and it turns out, oh yeah, if you want to play this game completely free to play and not spend platinum, you're going to have to wait until the community goes around and scans these 16 little data hashes that are scattered around the orb, which it's too much of a pain in the butt, and I don't think a lot of players are going to go out of their way to do that. But that's besides the point. We're here to talk about the frame and if she is kind of worth your time, but depending on, how difficult it is to get her from the orb, it will determine whether or not you want to invest any time into getting this frame. But the frame itself, she's very fun. She is very okay, and I enjoyed my time leveling this frame and messing around with her kit, and I did come to a build that I think that I like, right? So to begin with, let's talk about the overall mechanics of Hildren, or her kind of uniqueness in a sense, right? Because that's kind of what draws to her. She does kind of look like a female rhino as well. So besides the point, she works based off her shields, right? So if you go ahead and you press your first ability, which brings out your exalted secondary weapon, funny to say, right? It's going to drain shields rather than energy. So we don't have an energy pool at all, and this shield is, or this Warframe is based around just using your shields to cast all of your abilities. So a lot of the abilities are based around sustaining your shields or crowd controlling or dealing damage. The first one, for example, your Balefire Charger, is just basically dealing damage, right? So you use a certain amount of shields to bring out the Balefire Charger to cast it, kind of like Exalted Blade, and then you just go ahead and you shoot, and every single shot is going to drain a certain amount of your shields. Now, you can use your second ability, which kind of works a little bit like M Prime in the sense that it has a duration to it, and it's going to expand over this duration, and any enemies caught within this little field, they're going to have either their armor or their shields sapped, and then that's going to give you shields back to you, right? So you can use it to cast your other abilities. So that's really, really cool. And the other thing with the second ability is that it actually strips status effects away from you. So toxin procs, slash procs, and the like. If you get one of those that is affecting your health, all you have to do is press 2, and then they're gone. That's it. Nothing else. That is it. No catch. They're just gone. Third ability is a shield link ability, where you can link to your allies or you can link to enemies. Linking to your allies is going to give them a shield recharge rate and a shield boost. Linking to enemies is going to deal a radiation damage over time, but it will not proc the rad proc. The fourth ability is helicopter mode. So helicopter mode is a CC and a damage deal, and based on how close you are to the ground or high up you are, is going to determine the range. So the higher up you are, the narrower the range is, but the closer you are to the ground, the wider it is. But the higher up you are, the more damage you deal. Closer you are to the ground, the less damage you deal, if that makes any sense. So that is the general consensus around your kit. And now the damage dealing with the fourth abilities whenever you slam them into the ground. So whenever you recast it to get out of it or deactivate it in any way, or your shield runs out or whatever, you're going to slam them into the ground, and based on how high up you are is going to determine the amount of damage that you deal, just to clarify on that. So yeah, she's got an alright kit. It's nothing insane. It's all about that fun factor, her being able to be used in the likes of a survival or something, and just kill a bunch of bad guys, and you'll notice that with the amount of damage that the Balefire Charger actually deals. So if we go ahead and we take a look at that first, it's an exalted secondary, so it takes secondary weapon mods. It's got electric damage base, even though it says that it launches out fire in the description, which was kind of like what. We got Hornet Strike, Lethal Torrent, Magnum Force, Barrel Fusion for our multi-shot and damage, Anemic Agility for fire rate because it is a charge weapon, Pathogen Runs and Convulsion to stack up on that corrosive damage, and an Augur Pact for more damage, just a little bit, you know, extra. You can go ahead and make altercations to this build or whatever and throw on X spells or extra elements. It's really down to you, but this is just the build that I wanted to show because, I mean, it's easy to get and it makes sense, right? So we got 34,000 corrosive damage with this build specifically, and that's also including the, you know, the minus damage from Anemic Agility. Now, you could go ahead and throw on 2 Arcane Velocities if you didn't want to run Anemic Agility and you want the more damage. That's totally fine as well. And also keep in mind that your Power Strength is going to affect the amount of base damage that this ability deals as well. So with that being said, that's how I modded the Balefire for this video in particular. Of course, there will be better builds later on whenever we do more in-depth videos about Hildren, but this is just a pretty standard build, which I would recommend sort of aiming towards if you want to get into playing Hildren. Moving on to how we actually mod Hildren, I found myself modding her in a similar way to how I mod Excal, with a few little altercations here and there. So with Hildren's abilities, it works kind of like Excal's 4th ability, the Exalted Blade. What I wanted to maximize was how long I could stay in my helicopter mode, because I thought that was the most fun, and how I could minimize the amount of shields drained per shot from my Balefire, and then also make it so I can get a lot of shields back by using my 2nd ability. The 3rd ability isn't something that I paid a lot of attention to, but if you want to experiment around with that a little bit more, that's up to you. That's down to your discretion. But this is the build that I came up with. So because she is a frame based around shields, you want to throw on redirection, obviously. Adaptation was on there to help with the overall survivability and tankiness. You can use arcanes like Arcane Barrier, Arcane Aegis, and stuff like that to further, you know, leverage the shield gating mechanic, because you are immune for a short period of time whenever you lose all of your shields. So they implemented that as a passive, as a means to sort of test it, right? But this is what I came up with. So redirection for our shield capacity, adaptation, so then of course we're resistant to more damage types, prime continuity, streamlined fleet expertise, constitution for more duration on the abilities, and also minimum drain. So we got a 2 from the top, fleet and expertise, because we have so much duration on there, because keep in mind this does affect the drain over time. So if we go ahead and we hover over this, we see the drain over time. Drain per second is 6.25. We go ahead and we take out prime continuity, it goes to 8.52. So just to prove the fact that, you know, duration does indeed affect that. Cunning Drift for more range, because I wanted a little bit of range on there, because it just made sense based off our kit, you know, the 4, the 3, the 2, and all that jazz, because they do take range, right? So you have radius, that's a stat. You've got radius there again, and you have radius there again. So radius was a stat that I wanted to not neglect, because, you know, obviously affecting enemies is a kind of a key element with this build as well. Umbral Vitality on here for the extra health, because I wanted a little bit of Power Strength on there as well. It just made sense to throw on Umbral Vitality plus Umbral Intensify to have a little bit of Power Strength to up the damage of all my abilities. And then that's pretty much it. Cruise Projection on there is strip away enemy armor, because dealing damage is nice. And then, like I said, Arcane Aegis, Arcane Barrier. If you want to run those, they are very strong pieces of Arcane. So Arcane Aegis is 6% chance for 60 plus shields for 20 seconds, and another Arcane Revive if you have that maxed out. And then Barrier is, let me see, it is percentage chance to instantly restore all shields whenever you take damage. So if you want to pair 2 times Arcane Barrier, by all means go ahead. But like I said, my build is based around being able to sustain your shields, right? Using Shield Pillage, the 2nd ability, to drain the armor and the shields from enemies to keep your shields up, so you can use your 4 and your 1. Now, you can't use your 2 while you're in your 4, but you can use your 2 while you're using your 1. So if you want to just use Aegis Storm, the 4th ability, to kind of just have fun and hover around, by all means, right? So let's go ahead and show the effect on some enemies here in the simulacrum. You could obviously like pay attention to those little, what's it called? The little infographic things that show up now if you hover over them. But let's go ahead, make ourselves invincible, and we'll spawn in level 120s, because that's like, well, level 110 is more realistic. Level 110 is the highest level enemy. That's level 119, Flynn. Level 110 is the highest level enemy that you're going to come up against in the likes of, you know, swordies and stuff like that. So let's just spawn in 20 level 110 heavy gunners simulate, and let's try it out. So we'll test out the balefire damage first. So this is 34,000 corrosive damage. You knock them flying. It's kind of insane, right? So if you just wanted to keep on firing at them, you're gonna have a little bit of trouble because, you know, they just kind of fly over the place. It's got a pretty hefty knockback, but you're not gonna necessarily be playing against this level of enemy all the time, and you can use things to strip away enemy armor, so, you know, we're not really accounting for that. We can use our second ability to trap them all. Well, not trap them all, but affect them all, and then press it again to get all of our shields back, and you see that we actually go into overshield territory, so you can just naturally go into overshields of Hildren if you use your second ability to get there. So it pairs very, very well with the likes of an energy vampire Trinity. Third ability is going to link to these bad guys, and it's going to deal radiation damage to them. Now, because these guys are very, very high level, and you know, it's radiation damage that we're using here, then it's kind of a feels bad, man, because it's 72 damage per tick, and it's not that good. So the third ability I just don't use. It might be nice to buff up your friendlies and whatnot, but, you know, that's up to you. And then our fourth ability is going to hold them in the air, and then we can just go ahead and wheel on them like so. Now, I feel like maybe we deal increased damage to these guys whenever we're in the air, right, with our balefire. So that's something to note. We will go ahead and spawn in a bunch of other enemies to just go ahead and test that out, I guess. So I'm linked to my cat there. I'm giving my cat bonus shields. Another fun thing you can do is use the likes of linked shields and stuff to go ahead and help out your companions and things like that, right? So you also have a signature dash, something unique to Hildren, which is really, really cool too. But let's go ahead and pause the enemies. We're not going to get a damage bonus by doing this, by the way. Pause the enemies, and we will float over them. We'll hit them with our second ability to get more shields. We'll turn off our third. Okay, so we got more shields. We'll get above them. Use our fourth ability. Float up in the air, like so. So you got these guys affected, and you pretty much one-shot a big majority of them. So I think maybe you deal bonus damage to enemies while you're in the air using Hildren. I don't know, but I should probably read it. Would be a good idea. But it's fun flying around as Hildren and just kind of wheeling on bad guys with the balefire. Really, really cool. Really, really strong. Exalted pistol. Lots of damage, and it's just fun to float around, implying you have the minimum amount of drain possible by, you know, combining your duration plus your efficiency, right? And there was the slam down, which made the enemies fall over, which is really, really cool. So, like I said, she's a fun frame. She can hold her own well enough to not kind of fall in the same category as absolute shit tier, you know? But she's definitely not up there, as in she's going to replace any of your standard Warframes like Loki, Octavia, Equinox, Saren, or anything like that. You know, she's not insane. She's not a must-have. She's just kind of one of those fun frames that, you know, you pick her up, you play her, you're going to have a good time, right? So that is Hildren. She's really fun to play, but you can't get her yet. Don't spend platinum on her. She's very hard to fashion frame, and by the sounds of it, she's pretty hard to obtain too. So that is going to be it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and hit that like button below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.